Today, from Hush Hush Biz, we are meeting and chatting with Thomas Robbins, who is from Sky Television New Zealand. And his title there is Senior Commissioner for Scripted Projects. But Thomas also comes from a background of 20 years as a writer, director, and a producer. And Thomas, how are you and welcome?
I'm very good. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you for having me. We've got a slight delay, so if I look a bit starstruck, I will probably be starstruck, but also there might be a little lag, so forgive me if I come across.
I understand. No problem. Thanks, Thomas. We'll have to sort of just do the best we can with the digital world of of unpredictability.
Absolutely.
Now, Thomas, you're actually heading to Australia next week for Screen Forever, which is going to be on between the 3rd and the 5th of May. And, as to be on a few platforms, it's such a busy arena for Screen Forever. But, you're going to be a very busy man, I'd say, because you're here to, do a lot of sort of the to be presented on pitching. So you're at the Ready Steady Pitch. You're also on the marketplace round tables on a few occasions as well. But basically, I'd say, there'd be a lot of targets for you to be pitched at. And so can you tell us, obviously, what's the best pitch in your world? How does, what's a winning pitch?
Oh, I wish I knew. I wish I knew that when I was a producer.
Yeah,
it would
don't
have
we?
made life a whole lot better, right? So I just want to clarify that I'm there as the senior commissioner of scripted content. So looking for all things scripted. To let you know, I've been in this chair for just over 18 months, and coming at it with off the back of 20 years as a director and a writer and a producer and a slightly failed actor at the beginning of my career. So I'm coming at it without sort of baggage of being in this world, and kind of with fresh eyes, and my attitude is give it a damn good go, and take a few risks, and probably break a few rules, and look for interesting, brave projects, and see how we go until my boss tells me to pack my bag and head off out the door. So
we love you already, Thomas. We love you already. I love your language.
So that one of the reasons that I think that Annie Murray, who is the head of Sky Originals, got me in the job, is because I've known her for years and years and years, and it was really important to her that she got someone in the chair who had made, had been at the coalface. I understood scripts and understood budgets and understood producing and creatives, and know how sensitive we creatives, and I still consider myself to be one. I've written before, and how sensitive we creatives are, and we need a little care and a cuddle now and then, and everything's going to be all right now and then. So I've learned a lot from being in, as people keep saying, on the other side of the desk when I was pitching, and I think it was important to Annie that they had someone who understood what it was like to make things. So that's why she got me in. And what makes a great pitch? Well, first of all, it has to be something that we're looking for, obviously, which is, out the heart of who Sky Originals is we want brave, bold, intrinsically New Zealand-focused stories. We want to work with super experienced practitioners and new voices. And when I refer to new, I don't necessarily mean young. I just mean you. You know, I don't mind if you're 22 with a great idea or 85 with a great idea. You know, we're never too old to learn and do something new. So that's how I position what I'm, you know, where it stands. I commission for Neon, which is our streaming platform here, locally owned streaming platform, very premium platform with exclusive HBO content at the moment, with you know the likes of the Last of Us and Succession and all those great shows. All our Sky linear channels and our free-to-air channel Prime. So there's quite a big, you know, I'm in charge of commissioning local scripted for all that. So for me, it's and I always sound like I'm being facetious, but it's kind of in the name, you know, Sky Originals. I want to find something that I haven't seen before. I think we want to look at commissioning. We have our saying, which is fewer, bigger, better. So fewer shows, big as we can make them, and fewer shows and more love. You know, we'd rather have fewer shows that we can get involved with and we can really work closely with creatives and help them get it financed and with creative calls and things, than having an enormous slate where we only have a kind of a light touch. So that's kind of what we're... Yeah. So the original, the really look for, you know, and it's how do I look and go, I've never seen that show before. And a lot of the times I also say to people, even if I've seen a show like that, how can you show me a twist on this, you know? And that'll be with script feedback as well, going right down to, I've seen a scene before. I'm not saying don't have the scene before. I'm saying how can you present it to our audience in a way that we hadn't seen that scene before, you know, and it will give it a nice twist. So that's, I need to see passion from people. I would rather people brought me one really amazing idea and go, this is the one that I want, rather than, oh, like, here's 10, which one do you like? You know, I'm much more interested in the heart of the passion for the story. Character-driven, I need to be moved, you know, by character, and which is all kind of 101 commissioning and storytelling anyway, right? So get me excited. You know, pitch it to me, grab me early. Like I always think of it as kind of like when I read a pilot, you know, we're also, I don't know about you guys, but certainly we're very brutal now with how quickly we'll turn off the show if we're not into it, you know. Within a couple of minutes we'll go, all right, let's see what else is on. So hook us in nice and early, make me laugh, make me cry, you know, scare me, whatever emotion it is, but make it rich in story and with heart, big-hearted stories.
That's amazing. There's, you know, the key word I always get out of there is passion. And because passion actually is a deliverable sort of emotion in behind a story usually, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is, and you kind of and you know you get wrapped up in someone's passion, you know, and that's really important. I think the other thing for us, which may not be as easy for Australian creators, is but kind of look at what content we have on our platforms and make sure that when you bring an idea to me, you can tell me where that show is going to do, what platform it's going to do well and why, and who the audience is. That's the obvious one as well. But, you know, original, brave stories, you know, we're up for taking a risk. We want things that are kind of interesting that we haven't seen before. And I also wanted to touch on, because I know that I said intrinsically New Zealand, and for my first 2 years as a commissioner, we have been really focused on local stories and New Zealand stories, and the shows that we have, Not Even is one, Raised by Refugees is another, Rurangi. We've got another show called Broken Backs and Mountains that's coming out that are all very New Zealand. But now I think we have some great New Zealand content. We will always want that, but now I'm kind of wanting to think a little more international So when it comes to, which is one of the reasons for coming over, is wonderful collaborations with Australian creatives that are authentically New Zealand and Australian in a way, right? So I do have a dream of getting New Zealand and Australian creatives in a room at the earliest point in a collaboration as we can. There's a seed of an idea, and we get some Australian creatives to come to Auckland in a room, and the idea is authentically from the beginning, a real New Zealand Australian idea, and go from there. So, I love the idea of co-productions with our great creatives here and your wonderful talent in Australia. So
I absolutely love co-productions, and having obviously Australia and New Zealand connect, combines loads of sort of probably things that you could do together. Is there in form of obviously financing these things, does how does that work? Is there a budget sort of sets with with projects, with co-productions, or do you rely on sort of the agencies to come in?
So, there is a bunch of different ways that we can get things financed, and really good examples that we have is just locally funded shows, like for those shows that I spoke to previously are a bit of development from us to help develop the idea, a license fee from us, and the rest of the money comes from New Zealand On Air. So that would be a New Zealand show. It must have a free-to-air outcome, which is Prime, which is our channel, and the show is funded along that way, which to be honest, would be more modest budget kind of shows, which is a lot. We're doing a lot of those kind of half-hour comedy dramas that aren't hugely expensive, but can be really powerful and fun.
Yep.
When it comes to co-productions and working with New Zealand and Australia, and I'm not the expert on the screen production grant here, what we call the SPIG, but that can be up to 40% on the local news. On stuff anyway, and it can be financed as the 40% spent here, which can be by way of, whether it's shooting here or post-production or both, but the story needs to be very New Zealand, and there's a point system to show that it is New Zealand there, so there's up to 40%. If it's a straight international show where the New Zealand content isn't as important, then it can be a 20% rebate, right? So we could fund some of ours from New Zealand, and maybe the post is done in Australia or it's shot in Australia, and we're doing that finance plan. There does always seem to be a gap. Sometimes, depending on the budget size, can be quite a big gap, and we have a few projects like that, where we then would work with producers to help with offshore MGs or advances and try and help that way.
Okay.
So you know how complex these finances can be, right? So,
yes. Yeah.
So it all starts with, I'm maybe naively, but it all starts with a really awesome idea, and we can see a clear audience, and then let's go out and do our best to make it happen,
Yeah. Oh, look, that's all amazing. I know we're experiencing a little bit of, freeze times while we're chatting at the moment. But so just in form of us, we're getting to point. As you're, actually describing everything, Thomas. So thank you. You're actually wonderful in, giving us the examples of what you're trying to, work with, especially in the co-production just now. So, are you looking for a certain amount of, sort of, are you do you know, is it comedy more the flavour? Is it drama? Or is it just all variety that you'll be looking at?
I am It's funny because I'm not from a corporate world, and the term strategy is thrown around me all the time, and coming as a producer was like your strategy was like get a cool show made, right? That was kind of it, let's get this one made and then let's hopefully get this one made. So I kind of work on that. I've had people ask me, what's your strategy for Sky Originals, Thomas? And I'm kind of like, well, make really cool shows and help people, make shows that people want to watch and rate well. But what I can say is that, for Neon is pretty premium drama. So your Neon, a show that would sit well on Neon would sit next to, Succession and The Mayor of Easttown and The Last of Us, that kind of show. So beautiful, big premium dramas. We have a serial killer show being shot for us in Christchurch. That will be a big premium drama for us next year. Crime is always good. We do have a lot of comedy dramas, but I think they are fabulous. I guess the only one that is difficult for us are feature films is not a space that we work in yet. I have a dream of being able to, over the next year or two, kind of go, well, let's have a real go and really own it and really make a big deal and work hard with the producers of a great film and really lean into it in a big way. But they're quite difficult, not just on a financing perspective, but also on a marketing. Publicity was the long form is good for us for subscription drivers and all that kind of stuff. So building an audience, and that's the factor is that it's making sure that you're delivering to an audience that is going to subscribe. So there are shows that we have that that are more niche in nature and more I think shows that we should be supporting, and it can't. I'm a classic creative here where I'm working in a commercial business, but for me it needs to be more than just about ratings and revenue. People in this building will be going, what are you talking about? But it's a branding thing. It's showing that we're supporting local creators in the local industry, and there's got to be some love given as well as a more commercial kind of perspective. So it's a big picture thing, really.
It is a big picture. No, well, that's I'm absolutely thrilled that you're coming over, and and obviously your excitement and passion, because you're obviously, having been a writer, director, producer, you come with a lot of passion of being in the industry for 20 years and now being on this other side is it must be absolutely.
It's been a steep learning curve, but I feel like I'm still flexing the same creative muscles, but in a different way. There are and I think I told you before that we found this wonderful script from a new writer that I knew. A friend of mine was running a script writing course at Wellington Victoria University, and I said to him, send me your top 4, who are your 4 stars, and he sent me 4 scripts, and I read one by a writer called Dana Leeming, and I just thought it was so great. And she wrote it for her masters, at university, and I introduced her to a fabulous producer here called Ainsley Gardner, who is experienced and wonderful, and those two met and fell in love creatively, and within sort of 4 or 5 months of finding that script, we had it greenlit, and it was a modest budget, but for me, that's the joy of, that was kind of when I was going, now I know why I'm doing this job,
you become like a proud daddy, don't you?
It was great, and I was kind of like, for all my creative friends in the industry who went, you're going to become one of those network guys, that that was the real highlight, you know, to see that, you know. And Dana, who's fabulous and a wonderful, you know, new writer, she's away now, and people are asking her to be on all their tables and things. So it's cool, you know. And then of course working with the big kids as well is really fun, you know. So it's been super rewarding. It's challenging. It's not easy. I mean, there's never enough money, and having to say no to more people than you say yes to is horrible, but it's part of it, right? So
it is part of it. You know, rejection is a big thing of this industry. But you never give up. That's the key word. You know, and again, you would know this from your background, you know, as a producer. You just can't give up, you know, and you've got to keep going, slugging in this industry. And it's become, and because we've got all these streaming channels now, that's changed you know, a lot of, you know, for especially the writers, you know, and, you know, and therefore, something that is appealing can be made, and on all sorts of different budgets now. And
and a good idea is always a good idea, right? And that's the key. So.
Well, I've been absolutely. It's been wonderful. I could talk to you all day, Thomas. Truly, you're a wealth of information. I will be looking forward to meeting you in person at Screen Forever next week.
Yes, please.
On the Gold Coast. Have you been to the Gold Coast?
I have been to the Gold Coast just once. It was great fun, and I hear we're quite close to the beach, so it'll be nice as well.
Broadbeach. It's a good
I'll get up early and head for an early morning swim before everything kicks off, I think. But no, it'll be great fun to get over there, and you know, I'll be the guy wandering around not knowing where to go or what to do. So you know, make sure you help me out.
I'll help you out. I'll tell you where the best
floating around.
I'll give you the best directions. Don't worry. Well, I'll be looking forward to having a coffee. So thank you, Thomas. Look forward to again meeting up with you, and thanks for your time today.
Pleasure. Thank you, Caroline.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thank you.